this, suppose I'm having a wet area here. What should be placed in this wet area? The wet area, if there is fixed furniture that is not movable, it's going to be counted as dead load in the building. It has to be shown in the working drawing. If it's something movable like chairs, like desks, that is not fixed to the building, you don't show it. Why? Because it's from one day to the other, it can relocate. Whereas if you have a light partition that is fixed and fixtures, it's hard to relocate the sink from one day to the other. It's impossible actually, unless you make demolition and make renovation. So whatever fixture you want to place, it has to be placed here and shown. Not only this, the space of the restroom or the wet area has to be distinguished from the rest of the spaces, similar to the columns here, as you would see, so that I can tell directly that I have a structure member here. And by seeing this space, I have to place what it takes in order to make it distinguishable and say that this is a wet area. Right? How I do this? The first thing, if you we can also suppose I am having, if you want to place partition. Of course, if this partition is not touching the ground, you can adjust it. You can go to edit, and from here, if the partition is just elevated from the ground, you can make an offset from the ground, similar to what I showed you before in here. So that this is one. And suppose I want to do for here, and the purpose of this is just I want to show you the fixtures. It's not showing you how to design a partition or design a bathroom for sure. I'm just showing you here some of the. So I can go to architecture, and I can make a component and make a place a component. It doesn't show me here. This is the list of what is shown. I can go to load family and pick what I want to add in that restroom, because as I said, this is fixed furniture. They have to be placed in the real plan that you have, in the plan that you have. Okay, so I hope that's in here. Architectural fixture. You have these ones. You have urinal. You have water closets. You have those ones. If I pick this one, for some reason I'll pick this one, and I'll show you. I don't know if they fix it in 2021 or not, but let's see. This is a 3D. If I go into my section and I place a section here, and of course this is pointing to the other way, so that okay. So if I go to that and double click on it, it will show me my element in 3D, because I placed it in 3D. However, and that was all. I don't know if they fixed it, as I said, or not. If you pick a 2D one, it's not going to show in the section. So that they try to pick 3D elements that when you make plan or section, they will be reflected in both items. Also, again, you can go again, if you didn't get it from here, you can still place component, and you go to load family, and you go to these things. You have that. You have several ones in here. Of course, you have to pick, as I said, something that will show up in both plan and section. So this is one of the things that I told you about. You might place your door so that it can fit some stuff here, so that rather than having wasting the space here, you can place it this way. If you have limited space, for sure. Adjust this is for illustration. Now, what you can do is that let's after placing your fixtures, you can come into the space and start constructing your floor. As we said, there are several ways to do it. What you can do is that you can go to the structure and pick the floor that you want to have. Structure. This is just, let's see, structure. This is also several ones. You can go to whatever you want to have, edit the type similar to the walls that we have already, and you can adjust what you see. Here is concrete cast in C2 70.5. You can adjust this to 0.2, and you have membrane layer, then proofing, and then finish concrete sand cement, and then hit the OK, apply, OK, and then you can start drafting your wall. You can draft it several ways. You can adjust also the wall or the slab in several lines. You can do it in the interior, you can do it in the exterior, you can do it in certain ways. But what is the correct way to do it? What is the correct way to do the floor? Will be with the end of the concrete that you said, the end of the columns, as you also say. Now, the problem is this won't be a problem in the ground floor, but it's going to be affecting your space or the elevation of the building as you go into upper floors. So similar to the thing that we talked about regarding the slabs, regarding the columns relation with the walls, if the columns are with the edge of the walls, is going to show up. For this, what I do is that I'm embedding the materials of the slab inside the wall. Right, so that if I look at it from the exterior, what I will see is that this edge will be embedded inside. Now the question comes into the upper typical floors. When I go to the typical floors, what should be the relation? Should it be aligned with the columns, with the exterior of the columns, or will have different setup? Let's look at this relation now. You see that is the edge of the slab, and this is my wall. Here for that, the ground floor, it's not going to be problematic because this one will be extended, which actually should be extended outside the premises, or if you do have different level, it should be flushed with the exterior, and then it goes it goes into the steps if it's outside the building. But suppose now I'm doing the levels in here, in the level 2, and I'm building my slab as well. We have to think about the relation between the wall and the slab. We have to think about this carefully. Typically, what we do is that we build the slab with the beams and with the columns, and then at the end we will see we will fill into the walls in between, so that you will see an elevation of a frame that is composed of 2 columns and 1 beam, and above it you will see a slab, and then in between the fill of the walls. This is cannot be said it's wrong, but it does have a big flaw, which is the thermal bridging, which I think you still remember about that. Thermal bridging having when you do have 2 different materials exposed to the outside, which are not aligned with each other in terms of thermal performance. So if you have a concrete wall, and in addition to that, or portion of the wall is concrete and portion of it is brick, so that what's going to happen is that one of them will absorb the heat relatively different than the other, and then it's going to serve as a pipe of heat serving inside your space. So that of course the good way is to make your walls in layers. These layers are surrounding your building, so that imagine your skin are coating all of your body, right? There's no bones exposed. Now, if I have some bones exposed to the outside, the bones will have thermal properties different than the skin, so that our bones will absorb the heat or disabsorb the heat or radiate the heat differently than the skin, so that you will have problems transmitting the heat. But the skin, in essence, are surrounding the whole building, right? Or the skin is surrounding our whole body, so that they are making an insulation layer to the outside, rather than having these slabs or these slabs in the second floor going outside the walls. It's going to be embedded inside the wall, and sometimes the skin, which is the wall, also cases around the building 100%. And this thing we will talk about it more in details as we go into the subject more and more. But I'm just giving you a head up here about the relation between the walls and the slab as well. Right. So if we want to make distinguish of this slab from what we see here, we have two options. One of it is that we pick our slab so that we can go like this and filter. And this is, I think, another feature. You can unlock everything except the floors so that it picks it for you in here. And in the floor, you can add points or add split lines if you want to do it like this way, so that you can go to the split line and you can split your wall, your slab in the edge of your slab like this. Add split line from here to there, so that it's split. Now you are adding a split line that separates this from the outside. Why? Because here, if I want to add pattern, it's going to be distinguished differently from what you see from here. So that if I going to go into materials and I want to add ceramic or something like this for my, let me just wait in here a little bit. And I added here ceramic tile. But the ceramic tile, if we go to, yes, the floor by default sometimes is going to be hidden, the pattern in it. If you make it visible, I hope that would work. Apply. Yes, here it is. So when I make it too tight here, but you can adjust the size again, so that if for any reason if it doesn't show in anything in the plan, you can go to visibility and then edit, and then if something is hidden, it will show up for you. Pattern lines, these things are hidden by default. Sometimes if you make hatching or pattern for your surface of the floor, it's going to be locked like this or hidden. So that's better to make it visible. You can revisit your materials and try to adjust that. I think what we have here is too tight, but of course this is something also you have to look up in order to adjust the pattern that you see. Don't make it too dense or don't make it too loose, and this is too loose, so that you can adjust it. But at the end, we want to see this pattern in the wet area so that we can distinguish that from the rest of the slab. Now, the correct way to do the slab, because the slab, if I'm moving on the top of the floor here to the bathroom, it has to be flushed. It has to be aligned, so the same level. I don't go up or I don't go down. But technically, when they construct these slabs, they make it the top of the concrete. They make it down a little bit, so that if I make a section here, in here, moving from let me just draft, moving from the outside, I'm going like that, and then like this, and then like this, and then like that. This is the top of my my slab, and I go like this and like that, so that this is the surface, the top of the bathroom, and this is the top of the other areas. Why? Because the layers that is needed in the bathroom is much more compared to the layers that is outside. You have here sometimes some loose concrete they put, or foam concrete they put for the slopes, because this will have some drainage. If you need to clean or wash or something, or water is spoiled, you need to flush it to the gutter in here. So that sometimes they make this a little bit lower than that, maybe 10 centimeters, so that once they place their layers, it's going to be at the end like this, so that you walk in as a person on top of the finish flat. You don't go down or you don't go up, so that technically it's going to be separated a little bit with this knee in the slabs in order to accommodate the other layers in that building in here. So that is one thing need to be done. By doing so, you are not faking, but you are overcoming how the actual thing would look like, because in here you might have insulation of the slab. Below the flooring, you have a layer of insulation in order to insulate your wet area. But to be honest, the wet area can be done several ways. One of the schools says you have to insulate it in order to protect whatever below it, so that if you do have any water here, it's going to be contained within the insulation. This is one school. The other school says the opposite. If there is any leakage, it's not going to be shown because the insulation effect. So the better not to insulate, let the water get exposed and fix what is damaged. So this is one school, and the other school is that, and both thoughts are valid, and both thoughts they do have rational reasoning. But it's not. I'm not saying I'm not lenient towards any of the schools. Some of the structure says yes, but the damage that might be happening because of the water might be catastrophic for the building. So better insulate. So this, if we need to insulate in this case, what you can do is the other approach. As I said, there are two approaches to do this wet area. One of it is that once we constructed our floor, we cut the pattern in that as I showed, and then paint that surface. The other thing is you pick your slab. And I think this is going to be much more better if you do it this way. You pick your slab and you adjust the edge of it so that you create a hole here. And then you will add another slab in here and give it different material, so that the slab of the wet area is going to be tangential. So let me just try to give you here. If I pick that again and filter and check none, pick the floor again in here, and I edit the boundary of it. What I can do is just I make the boundary here. I make the slab like this, as you see, and then I delete. Pick that. Of course, it might give me a complaint because I did already split section, so that it might say that this split section now is outside the premises completely, but it's fine. I'm just giving you here an illustration. So that I made one slab here, the perimeter of it is just outside the wet area, and after doing so, here is the complaint. Yes, some slab is like this. That is for sure fine. And then I will create another slab in here and make it tangent, adjusted or neighbor to this slab. By this, I can go to my slab of the wet area and can adjust the layers in it, and can do the layers of the insulation, the layer of the slope, and other things like that. So this is one thing to do. In the plan, it won't show, but in the section, when it comes to the section, it will show up as something that you need to work out. Let's just show one. I think we are. What time is it? Still 3:05. One thing also that you need to worry about is the slope in that. Okay, if also it's to school vision. One of it is saying do not make gutters in your wet area. Do not make drainage. And the other school says you have to make drainage. In our culture, we have to. Why? Because we have excessive water. We're always obsessed with cleaning by flooding the wet areas with water and then drain it, so that if we don't have drainage point, the water will stuck. If it's slightly used, like you just clean the surface without flooding water, sometimes the gutter or the drainage is not needed. But if you want to do it, you can add point, and you can add point wherever you want to feel comfortable having that point. Everything will be sloped towards this point. I'll make it in here, and of course, we have to be careful where we place it, because if I place it beside then you see what's going to happen is some water in here will get stuck. So that you have to think about where you place your drainage point carefully. If this is partition that is touching the ground, some water will get stuck here. But if the partition is elevated from the ground, this, and I really love to think about this. When you think about it, you rationalize things and know why this is needed, why this is not needed, what is the best location, and other things. So that placing it here behind the door might be something good, so that it's going to be hidden at some point, and at the same time it's going to be in the middle of the bathroom, so that everything will drain to it, especially when the partitions are elevated. Of course, you can make it whatever you want. You can place it here below the sink, and below the sink also is going to be something good, because it's going to be we'll have the slope going into one direction, like in here. This might be a good place as well. So that always think about it. Do not place things in order to finish. Think about it, because at the end these details will make a huge difference in your drawing. Like if I place it, I want to modify that element, so that I take it and let me just go back. I modify the element like this. It's not taken anymore. Okay, here, this one. For some reason, it's not taken for me. Yes, this one. It tells me that the elevation of it is 0.00. If I go into negative point, let's say just 5, something like this. This is something we have to worry about. It does tell us something here, and I'll tell you why it's showing like this. So here, the slopes was created for us like this, and the 4 corners are sloping to this point. Now I have a problem in the pattern, as you would see here. The pattern that you see here is cut, and sometimes you would see that even the pattern will be broken and reoriented based on these lines of drainage. But I will show you how to overcome this. But before that, let's go into the slab and look at the type and look at this. I made the finish for me is this, and I made the line, the elevation of that point is 0.05, and the other one was 0.05. That means I don't have any finishing layer in this case, so that this slope was too much. So that to overcome that is to decrease that slope, decrease this line elevation, or to increase here. So that it's up to you to decide, but you have to pay attention that you have to put some stuff that are logic. So that if you have tiling, you cannot put a tile that is 5 centimeters thick. It has to be 2 centimeters at most, and this should contain the slope in it. But here is something that is important, the variable thing. This is different than the walls, where you need to make variable. Do you want to make it in the finish or the membrane layer or the structure layer? Usually, because here it's something you have to add another layer in between the dam proofing and the cast in place here in order to make that varying in slope, so that you have a slope layer of mortar or screed or something like this in order to make variation of your element. But suppose I will make it in here. If I go to the section and let's drag a section, draw a section here. See where is the slope coming? The slope is in the concrete layer, as you see here, because I make it as variable. But however, in construction, it cannot be done. It's going to be very hard to cast the concrete and at the same time adjust its slope like this. So what they do is adding another layer to make the slope, and that is from a mortar that is fluffy. They say that has lots of air gaps in order to accommodate for the slope and accommodate for the like maybe 6-7 centimeters. So that's why the concrete level is going to be different from the rest of the building in order to accommodate for this extra layer to accommodate the slopes. I hope this is clear. So if I make that move, if I go to the slab again and adjust, I made the slope not in the slab, but I make everything in here, not in the dam proofing. For sure, dam proofing is almost 0 here. It's very thin. Apply, okay, and the tile is where it does have the slope in it, so that you have to adjust that. And the best thing is to create another layer in between the concrete and the membrane in order to accommodate for the slope and make that fit comfortably. What I did initially when I created this point, you see, when I created that point in order to accommodate for the slope, what I have is that this point was deep enough to cancel the finishes at this location, so that it's better to adjust this. And this needs some thinking from your side. Pay attention that the sink is hidden; it's not there anymore because it's a 2D. I think it has to be 3D in order to show in your adjustment. Now, the last thing before we break up is let's go back to the manage materials and look up the ceramic tiles. Ceramic tiles, when I go to the foreground, make it as a draft. I hope this would work. Model is gonna mess up the pattern. Making it draft will adjust. But I'm talking about the pattern here. See, the pattern here is okay. Now, what you might run into is that by creating that slope and your pattern in your materials is not big to be draft, the model might mess up the hatching in your material. So that make sure that you are drafting here. When I created the slope, it dealt with it as if it's 2 materials. So that's why it makes it clean that slope without any pattern. So that I added that, and it's perfectly matching here. Now, if you to eliminate this problem completely, what you can do is, as we said, you will create your slab and create another adjacent slab for the wet area. And when you go to the edit tile, you will adjust the top of it to be as ceramic tile, and you adjust the pattern of it so that this finish is not going to be concrete. It's going to be ceramic tile, and which will be reflected directly without having to paint that portion of your slab. But pay attention, if you decide to make ceramic tile for this and you did not break the slab up, what you will end up with having all of the building made out of ceramic, and that is something we want to avoid, because adding this in addition to add the room details, internal dimension, everything will be as if you're adding things overlapping with each other, and that will create a lot of mess. Before we, I think the last thing before we go, I'm sorry about this, is the room. Do not forget about the room name and number, so that we have that, we have this, and we come to the of course to this as well, and we place it here. This room is very tiny, so that things in it is just overlap like that. You still can go and edit what you want to do by reducing the number. If you pick that and go to edit family, you can adjust how big it should be. If the space is too small and it's you cannot accommodate the number in, drag it outside, and then you will see that it created for you a tag or a line that is pointing to that in order to but perfectly run everything inside the space similar to this, and make the dimension internal and internal dimension towards the edge, towards the sides of the wall in order to devote the middle of it for this. We can still also make room separator if we have big space and we want to distinguish the two spaces from each other like that. And by this, if I go back to room, it will distinguish. It will see this as if it's a different room. What you need to do is just you go to the rooms, name them, and name the what is the space. If this is like an entrance or and that is an office building or office room, this is a bathroom or a wet area or something like this, you need to name them and give them a sequence of those. So that this is starting from scratch and ending up with this. We're adding more things. Until next time, inshallah, we'll talk about the stairs, how we place the stairs in here and serve the vertical circulation in our building.